Towards the onset of COVID, children spent 2 years without going to school. And we looked at interventions to work together with stakeholders such as coffee companies, local NGOs, schools, to ensure that we have children back at school.
These communities are also encouraging the formation of village savings and loan associations. The households are able to borrow resources at low interest rates and invest in other businesses. By improving their earnings, they're able to take their children to school and retain them in school.
I buy coffee and take it to Chagalanyi. Then I see something like benefits. Then I plan for my children and I manage to get school fee.
We have seen that the area-based approach is working in the communities. So we would like to use these learnings to progress to other areas in the country, not only in the coffee sector, but other sectors, to keep piloting and implementing human rights projects such as the Child Education Project.
Human beings were gifted with 5 senses by the gods: the sense of sight, the sense of smell, the sense of touch, the sense of taste, and the sense of sound. But sometimes human beings will, for one reason or another, not have one or more of these senses. Fortunately, there is another. A sixth sense of sorts, a sense of purpose. Some of the world's best little known cafes are spread all over its coastal shores, across its desert paradises, in bustling cities, in its football capitals, and in its game parks. But during the COVID-19 lockdown, millions of cafes closed overnight. But one day, they opened again, and they magically came alive. These wild cafes lure us in with their enchanting stories, flavorful food, unforgettable decor and architecture. Friendly staff, brave founders, and great coffee. So, are you ready to go on an adventure? Wild Cafes. That thunderous volume of water is the River Nile, and it is an incredible sight to see. At over 6,000 kilometers, or 3,500 miles long, the River Nile is Africa's longest river and sustains hundreds of millions of lives, both human and wildlife, across the continent. And it is here, in this little country called Uganda, that the story of the first of our wild cafes begins. Kampala, Uganda's capital city, gets its name from a deer-like animal called the impala that filled its hills over a century ago. Home to over 5 million people, it's a city along the shores of Africa's largest freshwater lake, with a heartbeat like no other. Young people smile and move to the rhythm of life, like the rest of Africa, with an energy that is infectious. Nestled between two large hotels and several office blocks, in a leafy upscale part of the lush green city, is this little caffeinated heaven. From the minute you walk in, you sense it everywhere, with its grand interior and exterior. The Endiro Coffee Sign Language Cafe punches well above its weight. The brick-faced walls remind you of a beautiful African traditional hut. In one corner is a beautiful, cozy little bookshop where you can buy a book and read it. And if people love coffee, they definitely love books. The wooden panel ceiling's floor is only broken by glass-arched ceilings that let the light in and bring the African sunshine inside. To connect the floor to the ceiling, as if the earth to the sky, rises out from the ground two large trees that must be no less than 70 to 80 years old, both covered with creepers.
Endiro is the name of a basket that's shared as a gift or as a communal item that's being shared. And the symbolism of Endiro basically means that anyone who partakes, we're all equal. The best and the worst of us are all shared equally, that we meet each other's need, and there isn't someone who's better than the other, but that we're all here to share from the same basket. And that carries out into a lot of our ethos across the entire business, from the frontline server to the farmer to our customer, to all the way to the leadership team. And every person that bean touches, we try to find a way to make sure that we do a piece of good or deliver a piece of good through that bean, through everything that touches that business. So it brings us to our motto, which is brew all the good you can. We truly try to look at every person and every part of the supply chain, every piece of our spaces, our message, our product, everything that we do, we try to understand how can we bring good into this world and how can we benefit people as much as we can.
Endiro Coffee is such a welcoming place, and to me it is the place that gives me a sense of purpose. It's a community. When you look at the people that work there, they belong to a certain community that whenever they're in that place or whenever they come to a workplace, they feel like they are working for a much bigger purpose. When you hear the vision of Endiro, which is to be the company that partners with others to end out vulnerability globally through coffee and its people, spaces, services, and products, it gives you a sense of belonging, that you're working for a much bigger thing, because everyone who is in that place is working to better their lives and the people around them in that community.
Endiro first started as a small coffee shop in Kisementi. When Gloria first started it, she saw a piece of land that honestly to a normal person's eye would have had no potential, but she knew that she wanted to do good things with creating a small coffee shop. Within a couple of years, that small coffee shop in Kisementi became situated in affluent areas of Kampala just by coincidence and a miracle, and it became an urban haven for business professionals to take a moment out, enjoy sort of an urban jungle in the middle of all this development. And across the story of Endiro, we've constantly seen these sort of miracles happen where we saw potential, took a risk, and things came together. At the same time, there were a lot of challenges that we didn't anticipate either. But every time we see an opportunity to be able to benefit people and do good, we took a step forward, took a risk just to see what we could do. And sure enough, with a little faith and a lot of hard work and just overcoming challenges, we've seen a lot of good things that Endiro can do. That has expanded out into things like in 2011, when I first started, we would buy coffee from other people. Well, in 2015 and 16, what we started to see along the coffee supply chain is a lot of exploitation. And so we took a decision to go and work directly with farmers. What we've been able to do there, such as being the first people to set a floor price to pay farmers properly, to make it transparent, to work with the women farmers, to bring out the invisible labor in the supply chain and to try to reduce exploitation in every part of the supply chain and own it from tree to cup, we were able to not only reduce the exploitation or even remove it altogether, but we've seen farmers be enriched and empowered.
Inclusivity has really been a very good experience for me, and as Endiro, it cares about the community really, because when you look at the people that we work with in our different stores, you find that all people who are in our different departments are able and others a bit disabled. But this doesn't mean that this person who is disabled cannot do what an able person can. We believe that everyone must have a right to access good education, good working conducive environment, or even have like better jobs or better positions.
Our Endiro signature project, which is the Endiro Nakasero Orchid location, will not just be a place where we have a sign language cafe where we focus on hiring people who are deaf, but also with other disabilities such as with low vision or mobility issues. But also we're looking to expand that into a barista school, and we'll eventually incorporate other skills that go all the way to things like coding and a co-working space to provide areas where people who want to start their own businesses can come together and get mentorship and provide space for them to launch other businesses. We want to provide hospitality training to people who are neurodiverse, are typically disadvantaged in terms of employment. We want to shine a light on that. Those are only some of the things that we hope to create out of this space.
Perhaps that's the real story here. As a parent, sibling, friend, or cousin to anyone with a disability, there is a constant fear. A fear that what would happen if we were not there to care for them. It is one that we are all too familiar with. But maybe that's why Gloria, Cody, and Endiro exist. That a little cafe like this would have that sixth sense, purpose. A purpose to be a force for good and to give us hope. And this is also the purpose of this show, to remind people why cafes like this exist and why everybody loves coffee and why everybody loves Endiro Cafe.